What's up, everybody? It's Kristen, and welcome to today's talk where we are going to be talking about mastering the moment. We are in a mindset series, and so I know a lot of times it can feel like we just need to work on our mindset, think differently, do this differently. But honestly, if you let that go into overdrive, it can become too much thinking. Okay. It's a lot of thoughts and a lot of thought challenging going on. And sometimes with some of my clients where I know they get stuck in their head a lot, we don't need another pro cons list. We don't need another to do list. We don't need another calendar. We have been overthinking. And this is the time where we need to master the moment and be more present and get into our bodies. And so if that sounds like you, stay tuned because I'm going to give 3 practical, realistic, simple mindfulness techniques that you can use to help counteract some of that thinking you've been doing. Let's talk about overthinking for a bit. Why do we overthink? We need our thoughts. We need our mind. Our mind is very powerful. It's a great tool. You know what I'm saying? So it's not that it's all bad to be thinking, but what is the function of overthinking? When do we go into overdrive? Why is that a thing? Where did it come from? Well, the reality is that for most of us, it comes from something that's fear-based. For some of us, it could be fear of failure and perfectionism. It could be the fear of losing something, fear of being abandoned, being rejected. And so we go into some sort of mental space of trying to prevent outcomes from happening or trying to do things perfectly so that nothing goes wrong. It's because we need control, we need security, and we need certainty about what is going to happen moving forward. It's a way of trying to keep yourself emotionally safe. But the reality is that when you're overthinking, you are not present at all. You are completely in your head, not even taking in the information from your current environment to help inform you on what you need to be doing. Our overthinking is either past oriented or future oriented. It's not even taking in the information in real time, which is ultimately the information that matters the most. And so we get to overthinking and we're in our head and then we're in our head. And next thing you know, you've been thinking for an hour. You've been on the fence for a week. You've been debating and going back and forth and thinking about getting started on something for a month. And next thing you know, that project never started. We've just been procrastinating. Overthinking and procrastination go hand in hand. Overthinking lies to us and says that if you think about this long enough, eventually we're going to come up with the best plan ever. We're going to execute it. It's going to go perfectly and all will be well and you will be emotionally safe. But the reality is that all we're going to do is procrastinate and think more and get lost and spiral and probably get in our own way by way of never starting at all or starting in some sort of timid way where we're just not loose and free to take in our real time environment. And so overthinking and procrastination are understandable and we don't want to, shame any of our parts, but we do have to figure out how to meet that need so that we can show up in a healthier way. And for most of us, that means a bit more mindfulness in our lives. I cannot tell you how many people say that they wake up and a whole day goes by and they maybe don't even remember what happened. They could not tell you what they had for breakfast. They could not tell you about what they saw on the drive to work. They were in their heads. They were thinking about the next thing. They were reflecting on how tired they were and how tired they're going to be, and they can't wait to get back in bed. That is all practices of being in your head. And when it comes to taking care of yourself, moving towards a renewed mind, a different experience for your mental health and your physical health, your goals, there's nothing as powerful as using your mind to help you stay present, right? And so when we're talking about mindfulness practices, those are the practices that are really going to help us calm our central nervous system. I don't know about you, but when I'm overthinking and procrastinating and stressed, I feel tension in my body. My chest is tight, my breathing is shallow, my back's hurting, my neck's hurting. I'm like leaning forward, trying to figure life out. My shoulders are high, I got a headache, my eyes are hurting, I've been grinding my teeth. You know what I'm saying? There's so many things that just really get us all wound up and tense when we are in that state of overthinking. It's literally a stress response. And so mindfulness is going to calm our nervous system, send signals back to our body that says you are safe, you are secure, you are okay. And then we can start to relax and be more present because in the present moment, most of the time, things are okay. It's when we start getting in our heads that it's like, oh no, that can't happen. And oh no, I hate that that happened. That's when we really kind of get ahead of ourselves or behind ourselves. But when we're in the present moment, we can remind ourselves that we are okay and that things are going to be okay. Mindfulness also helps to clear out the clutter. I want you to think of your mindset like a storage unit. That stuff in there that has been in there for a long time, that maybe had some sort of sentimental value at some point, maybe it still does, but you're holding on to it for whatever reason and just storing it up just in case. You have not let it go for one reason or another, and it's taking up space. Maybe you think about it like, oh, that's up there, that's up there. You're thinking about it, but you have not let it go yet. It's taking up space. But then also in storage units, sometimes you have, your overflow of things that you might need, supplies, your toilet paper and your paper towels and this thing for the next holiday and this thing for that holiday, that sort of thing. And so we can not only be storing up things from the past, but we can also be storing up things we anticipate from the future. And so when we're talking about mindfulness practices, it's really just helping us go into that storage unit and kind of sift through some things, removing the clutter, removing the stuff that you've been tripping over to get to the important things, or, that are just in the way. That is what mindfulness can do for your mind. And then also, again, it helps you to keep your intentions and keep your outlook on what matters most, which is the present moment. And when we are in our heads, we are no longer able to take action in our present reality, which is why we procrastinate. It is really hard to be in your head and then intentionally acting based on your current reality at the same time. I know many people say that they do it, but if you're doing it, are you doing it all that well? And if you're doing it well, are you at peace? I think those are questions to ask about the function of multitasking and being able to compartmentalize and be in your head so much and be in your present moment at the same time. I think that at some point we would probably say that we have become robotic, or like I said earlier, you go through a whole day thinking you were present, but then if someone asked you to reflect on what you did the entire day, you were there, but you weren't actually there. And so mindfulness practices can help be that gentle reminder to be where our feet are when we get off course. Come back to the present. When we get off again, come back to the present. And that's why I think that these tools are going to be very helpful for you to start to implement this into your daily practice. So the first thing that I want to talk about is deep breathing. This one's free. I like doing this one because deep breathing is free. It doesn't cost a whole lot. And guess what? You're doing it anyway. So we might as well use it, right? If you can, and I really just suggest giving it 10 breaths. I cannot tell you how many people are sometimes like, okay, I did my deep breaths. And it's just like, okay, well, even that wasn't very mindful. Sounds like you were overthinking and doing too much with that too. Let's actually step into the practice of deep breaths by committing to 10. All right. And when you're doing this, I want you to inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. All right. And when you inhale, I want you to be intentional, but maybe a bit more normal in how you inhale. You don't have to slow it down too much. But the key to this practice is going to be exhaling for longer than you inhaled for. This is going to send messages and oxygen to your bloodstream, which is going to help your central nervous system regulate and calm you down. All right. So we're going to inhale, say we inhale for 4 seconds, and then I want you to exhale for at least 6, 8, 10, 12 seconds, something a bit longer. All right. If you equal them out, I think you can still kind of perpetuate that inhale, exhale kind of rhythm where it's just like an equal trade-off as opposed to inhaling deeply and then exhaling intentionally to help you stay present and under control and slow down in that moment. So I want you to give it 10 breaths, all right? At least commit to 10 breaths and then you can move on. But that is something that you can access at any point in the day. And remember, you're doing it anyway. Number 2 is going to be taking in something with your senses. There is a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding technique that kind of embodies this too. But if you're in a pinch and you really just need to know a way to get started, I would say just pick one of your senses and tap into it and be very present with it for a minute or so. So let's say I'm going to smell something. All right, I'm going to go get my favorite perfume. I'm going to spray it. on something, on myself. And then I'm just going to sit with how good it smells. I'm going to smell the notes. I'm going to think about, does it smell stronger on one arm or the other arm? Does it smell differently on my clothes versus my skin? What do I enjoy about the smell? Why is it so nice? What's the smell that I don't like, and why is that the case? You know what I mean? Just really kind of honing in on that specific experience. You could do the same thing with tasting something. Again, you got to eat throughout the day, right? So let's say you have an orange or, another fruit or anything really, tasting it with intention. What is the feel of it? What's the smell of it? How does it feel in your hand versus in your mouth? Maybe you might use it to, pair it with something else to see how it tastes with one thing versus the other, and really just sit presently. I feel myself, even in describing these things to you, I feel myself kind of like calming down and even describing it. And so I know this is going to work for some of you who are just very wound up all the time and don't know how to actually be present. This is a great way to practice that. The same can be true for touch and feeling something. You could just use your hands, to feel a different texture, how soft my shirt is, or, an area of my skin, the skin on the back of my hand versus the skin on my palm, or even taking something, and I just have a mic here by me, to see how something feels on your skin and on different parts of your skin, right? So I've had a stressful day. I'm ready to throw these kids away and my husband and whatever else I got going on, right? And then before I do that, instead of doing that, not before, but instead of doing that, I'm going to practice mindfulness, and I'm going to get something out, and I'm just going to take in a different experience. This feels differently on the back of my hand than it does on my palm. Look how different that is. And in doing that, all I'm doing is I'm in the present moment, thinking about this sensation, focus on what it looks like, focus on what it feels like, instead of thinking about how I want to run away and never come back. You know what I'm saying? And the last thing I want to say too about this could be dipping your hands into some water. If you're overly anxious and you're just, kind of overwhelmed, have a different sensation on your body. Some nice cool water on your hands can be just enough to help you reset. Another thing that you can do is to just sit in silence. If have a very busy schedule and you wear a lot of hats in your life, you might find that there's not a whole lot of time where it's just completely silent, In whatever situation you may be in, never feel like you are so bound to the situation that you cannot step away. I think that if there's times where you need a break and you're overwhelmed and you deny yourself that, let's say that, there's certain situations where you absolutely cannot, if you're in the care of someone who can't care for themselves, or, if you're driving, you can't just abandon the car. But you know what I'm saying? If there are moments where you just need to step away, give yourself permission to just do it. All right. Each time that we know that we need silence or stillness and we deny it to ourselves, we are just disregarding our emotional experience, and we are getting back more so into our head instead of feeling what our bodies and our hearts need. And so stepping away, taking a time out, and just sitting in complete silence can be just what you need to reset and to implement some of these other things that we talked about in that moment as well. But removing yourself from all the distractions and all the overwhelm, give yourself permission to experience something different, if even for just a couple of minutes, to step away. You'd be surprised how just being able to go into the bathroom or go into the bedroom and just reset can really transform your mind and help you to regroup into what the present moment needs from you, instead of being caught up in what your environment has going on. And the last thing that I'll suggest is doing a quick list of gratitude practice. Our minds, like we said, can be a bit tricky, and sometimes we're wired to see the worst in things by way of survival and fear. Sometimes we can just really be stuck on what's not going well. And sometimes we just it's not to dismiss that things are challenging or stressful or whatever, but it's just to mix in some more positive energy into our thought life. And so a gratitude list can be a great way to reground, maybe re-anchoring back in what matters most to you, remembering your values, remembering the balance of it all. Our thoughts can make us feel like life is just overwhelmingly negative, or it's just one thing after another. It's always something type of thing. But if we stop and start to name some things that we're grateful for, it's a way of bringing us back to the present reality, which is nothing is ever all bad or all good. There's a mix of both usually, and it's all about where we are focusing our energy and our thought life, okay? And so through gratitude practice, that can be a simple way to just remember those things. And then also, I feel like just regrouping on your values and on what's most important at the end of the day. So if you're getting wound up overthinking about what to cook for dinner. Gratitude means, I'm grateful that I'm able to have this moment with my family. Who cares what we eat? You know what I'm saying? It can be something as simple as that. And through doing that, maybe a dinner idea comes to you more easily because we're not overthinking something that doesn't matter at the end of the day. Thank you all for joining me for today's talk around mastering the moment. I encourage you to take heed to some of these practices and implement them into your daily routines. And I promise you, you will, maybe not overnight, but eventually you will start to see the fruit of having practiced mindfulness, and you never know when you're going to need it. So thanks again, and I will see you in the next video.